Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Purple Projections podcast. And today I am here with my good friend Purple Political Talk, and we're going to be talking about the five key House races in 2020. So without further ado, I'll let Purple take it away.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Purple again with another video, I guess. And we're here with UAP like usual, like he just said. And like he said, we're going to be covering 5 key House races in 2020. Not necessarily the most contested. However, 5 interesting House races that we have decided to analyze. And these are going to be 5 key House races when it comes to Nancy Pelosi staying in the House leadership as the Speaker of the House. And these are going to be the key to the Speaker's office for either party. So let's get started. So, UEP. So we all know that House races are very diverse from district to district. What is your definition of a U.S. House race that is contested?
Well, generally, I stick with the same definition for all races, whether it be a governor's race, a Senate race, or a race for 11 electoral votes in Arizona between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. A contested race is a race that has the potential of going to either side, and there's a difference between one that will be close. For example, I'm going to make I'm going to say that the Kansas Senate race will be pretty close. Not insanely close, but pretty close. But I don't think that Barbara Bollier will win there. However, a contested race like, say, Montana will be close and has the potential of going to either candidate. So there's a difference, but they often overlap, and that's what gets people confused. So, and I would just overall say a contested race is one that both parties are going to invest money to because they know their candidate has the chance of flipping it. So these 5 races have the chance of going to either party.
Correct. I mean, I stand by the similar definition. And these House races, a lot of them are contested for different reasons, and we're going to get into them. Whether it be new demographics, unpopular incumbent, popular person running against the incumbent, all these different things affect House races. And we're going to look at them in the 5 crucial House races we have for this video. So our first House race is Oklahoma's 5th Congressional District. This race is between Congresswoman Kendra Horn and State Senator Stephanie Bice. And we see, just looking at the district that this district is located in, it takes up most of the Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City suburbs. And it looks like a pretty long and skinny type district where it kind of looks a little gerrymandered. But UEP, do you want to talk about it?
Okay, so this district was definitely the biggest surprise of the 2018 midterms in the House. At least, there were some other surprises, but this one was the biggest because this district had been universally rated as safe or likely for the Republicans. And then Kendra Horn came and pulled off an upset. Now, she only won by 1, so it wasn't a dramatic flip, but she made an upset against a decently popular incumbent, and it was a blue wave year. Democrats actually did decent in the state of Oklahoma, but it was still a very, very shocking result. And Kendra Horn is easily the most vulnerable Democrat incumbent in the House right now. There are some other vulnerable Democrats, but she's most vulnerable. She's in a red state, and she voted to impeach President Trump, so it's not looking too good for her. But this still is a competitive race, and Kendra Horn could by all means hold on. And in a Democrat best-case scenario, she would hold on. In our scenarios, even in a normal scenario, that she would hold on to her seat. But as of right now, I'd have to give State Senator Stephanie Bice, the Republican who's not too divisive, just, kind of the Joe Biden of Republicans, having appealed to both moderates and conservatives. I think she's going to win this race.
Yeah, so for some background, Stephanie Bice is a very moderate candidate. I don't know if you guys know who Rick Santorum is. He was a former United States Senator, and he ran for president in 2012, if I'm correct, and 2016 as well. And he's a very moderate person. I would say he's independent almost in most issues. And he endorsed Stephanie Bice. Stephanie Bice hasn't been endorsed by President Trump, which again shows what type of candidate she really is. I want to talk a little bit more about the geography of the district. Demographically, the district does have some minorities, and it's a very urban area. However, most of the district is made up of suburbs, a lot of very white suburbs, so that's something else to keep in mind. Kendra Horn won there because she's moderate, and she's very unpopular right now, and she's not well-liked. However, I think Stephanie Bice as well is going to pull out this race. By how much is a question? I would say Stephanie Bice could pull it out by 3, 4, 5 points even.
Yeah, I like everything you said there. And right now, I'm gonna say that it's a lean GOP race. So yeah, I think that I haven't ran a model on it yet because I'm still developing my House model. I have a Senate model and a presidential model. Don't have a House one yet. But I think just making an educated guess, I'd say Bice wins this by 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, so very interesting race here, and honestly, favoring the Republicans again, this would be a flip. And we want to move on now to the next race, which is Florida's 26th congressional district. We have Congresswoman Debbie Marcusel Powell. We couldn't fit in the Powell; it's a very long name. And Miami-Dade County Mayor Carlos Jimenez. This is a Southern Florida district, very deep part of South Florida, with the Keys along with Monroe and parts of Miami-Dade counties. So,
yeah.
Let me introduce it. So,
you go.
Yeah, so this district is pretty close to my home district. It's right next door. And Debbie Marcusel Powell is a very interesting candidate because she is a Latina and she is from Ecuador, which this southern part of Miami has a lot of more Latino voters. However, Mayor Carlos Jimenez, he is very, very popular when it comes to Miami-Dade County. And especially the area of Miami-Dade County where this race is taking place, in the southern part of Dade County, there is a lot of more moderate Republicans / Democrats. And Debbie Marcusel Powell doesn't have a huge approval ratings, but they're not super low either. This race is a pretty interesting race considering how there's a dynamic like we see popular somewhere else going against a meh senator. So, before I give you my tea on the race and what I think is going to happen, UP?
Yeah, I like everything you said there. I think it's, and especially, I think this is a really interesting race because it's not getting talked about a lot. And the Republicans have fielded a good candidate here, Mayor Carlos Jimenez, who is, as Purple mentioned, popular against a so-so candidate in Debbie Marcusel Powell. So, this is kind of similar to the Senate race up in Montana, in that it's a swing race where you have a meh incumbent, as you put it, against a very popular figure in the area. So this has a potential to flip to the GOP, but I'm going to give it to the Democrats because we're expecting to see higher turnout from this area. And in 2018, it was very, very competitive, but there was lower turnout, and I think that's actually going to help Debbie Marcusel Powell, and this could very well be the closest race. So this is a swing district. It has the potential to go to either party, but I think that Debbie Marcusel Powell, especially, she has to do essentially what she did with the Latino vote in 2018 to win again. I think she's going to narrowly beat Carlos Jimenez.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to agree with you there. And another big interesting fact about this district is that for the most part, the districts are somewhat of the middle class of Miami-Dade County, with more of the lower to middle class. Most of those people live in this district, and that just is very good for the Democrats. As maybe a couple years ago, they could have gone solidly for the Republicans, and we saw then incumbent Carlos Curbelo. He was a big state figure. He was congressman from here. However, Debbie Marcusel Powell unseated him, also because of the Keys, which is a very, very somewhat conservative but also liberal parts of Florida. Although Mayor Carlos Jimenez might be able to get some turnout out, and since he's known because he's the mayor of Miami-Dade County for over 8 years now, he should be well known. However, Debbie Marcusel Powell is probably going to narrowly push it out, just because also she has that Hispanic support and higher turnout, which really help her out. I don't see it going by more than 3 points for Debbie Marcusel Powell. I see it going anywhere from tilt to 3%. UP?
Yeah, good analysis, and I think especially that you would know because generally you are from that area. But I think that overall it's going to be very, very close. The Republicans have fielded a good candidate here, but, I'm going to stick with the Democrats in this race.
Yeah. So our next district is Iowa's 1st Congressional District. UP, do you want to introduce the race?
Of course. So this race was a flip. It was a GOP held seat, and then in 2018, it flipped to the Democrats. So why did it flip? Well, the suburbs turned against Trump, even though he had won them in 2016, and they're generally turning away from the Republicans, which is a trend that's going to continue. Also, you have to remember that Um, uh, Abby Finkenauer ran on a very pro middle class, pro working class platform, and that helped her win. And she won this race by a likely margin. It was a flip, but it was still a likely margin, which is very, very interesting, considering the fact that, generally the stereotype is that when you flip a seat, it's a very close. But she kind of didn't go by that stereotype. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is that Abby Finkenauer is popular here. She's young. She's only 31 years old, and I do think that she has a political future in Iowa. And she's popular. I think she is charismatic. She has everything going for her. And Ashley Hinton, I don't think that she's a horrible candidate. But I also don't think that she's going to generate enough enthusiasm, enough to get the suburbs back on her side, and give her a path to victory in this race. So I think it's going to stay with the Democrats, probably by a lean margin, though.
Yes, so this race is very interesting because, again, this is where most of your white working middle class part of Iowa lives. It's very close to the borders with Illinois and Wisconsin, if I'm correct, and Minnesota.
Illinois and Minnesota.
Yeah, it might be that. I'm not sure, but it's more of the working class voters of that state. Abby Finkenauer, I mean, she won her race in 2018 with that platform. Middle class voters, all of that. I think they're going to come back and vote for her again. Ashley Hinton is somewhat of a good candidate because she's on the more moderate side. However, I mean, since Abby Finkenauer is somewhat very popular in this district, I could honestly see her winning like purple, like Huey said, by around a lean margin. So yeah, I mean, Abby Finkenauer is a good candidate. She generates a lot of excitement. What's going to do this race for her? I mean, it's just support from the suburban middle class. And this district geographically is very interesting as it's kind of the greater suburbs of Des Moines. It's not the direct ones. It's pretty far away. I mean, not like at the edge of the district. But mostly you also have a pretty big city in Iowa, Cedar Rapids, and some other smaller cities in the state of Iowa. So, yeah.
Yeah. Good analysis. I also want to quickly mention that Abby Finkenauer, remember, she was actually very pro-Joe Biden from the start. I mean, I think that she campaigned for him when he was in Iowa. So she's moderate, and Joe Biden's on the ticket. And I think both me and Purple agree that Joe Biden, him and Amy Klobuchar were the best Democrats for the Rust Belt Midwest region. So overall, I think that's going to help her as well because she says, I'm sticking with Joe Biden. And Iowa's probably not going to go to Joe Biden. It's a red state at this point, but this district, and on my screen, I'm hovering over it with my mouse. That district is going to probably go to Joe Biden narrowly.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting district, just geographically and demographically. So, I mean, I think if I'm correct, it went for Trump in 2000.
Yes, it did. It also went for the Republicans, but it flipped in 2018.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, interesting district. Abby Finkenauer, very good candidate. I mean, Ashley Hinton, if you ran her in another race, you probably would do pretty good. I mean, if you ran her in, I think it's 4th district, she probably would have done there very well compared to the current incumbent that kind of lost his nomination from some reasons that
Steve
I mean
King.
We're not going to get into this video, but essentially that's a very good interesting race. And should we move on to the last race? Yep. Or I think there's 2 more races.
There are 2 more races.
Yeah, 2 more races. Let's move on to the next race, which is Minnesota's 7th congressional district between Congressman Colin Peterson, former lieutenant governor of the state of Minnesota, Michelle Fishback. And this is a very interesting race because, I mean, this district went by a lot for the Trump campaign. It went by a solid margin. And it ends up being that the Democrat, Colin Peterson, won there in 2018, which is very interesting to see.
So, Colin Peterson is a longtime Democrat incumbent. Well, not long time. I was thinking of someone else when I said that. But he's well known. He's actually the only Democrat to vote against the DC statehood initiative. So, he's conservative for a Democrat, and we're going to see him getting a lot of he needs Trump voters to win this because, as you can see on the map, this is basically kind of like the Dakotas type of region of Minnesota, not the more liberal region. So he needs Trump voters, and he's going to get them. But I think that being said, this country is so polarized, and Former Lieutenant Governor Michelle Fishback, who is well known across Minnesota. She's held statewide elected office before. She's going to beat out Colin Peterson. That's my take.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, Colin Peterson is not sitting on a good vote. I mean, this district, it went for the Democrats in 2016 in the House race. That's when he was elected. Or that might be inaccurate. But still, he won this race in 2018. And again, like you said, more of the Dakota part of Minnesota, especially the Fargo, North Dakota suburbs, on the Minnesota side. And at this point in time, I'm going to say the following. Colin Peterson is not the best candidate. He's not in the best position right now in that district, just because there's a lot of red vote, and there's not much major cities. If you see why it's such a big district, it's essentially because it's a very conservative, or not very conservative, but it's very rural, which again turns a lot of votes to former Lieutenant Governor Fishback. And that's going to help her again. She has a name for herself in the state as former lieutenant governor. It's not like some random person that just decided to run for office. So, yeah.
Huh?
I mean, and I think that honestly at this point, Colin Peterson is probably going to lose. I would say anywhere from maybe 2 to 5 points. Anywhere in that margin.
Yeah, I have it as lean Republican for the reason that, it could very well be tilted. And again, Colin Peterson could win. He's won twice. He won in the same ballot that Trump won back in 2016. But I'm just saying, because he has a strong opponent, he's going to lose by, 3-4 points.
Yeah, so very interesting race. I mean, even though Minnesota could be seen as very liberal, just because of recent events and things like that, it still doesn't mean that there's a conservative side of Minnesota. And for the most part, I think if I'm correct, the northern part of Minnesota is pretty conservative, as well as the western part.
Yes, it's essentially Minneapolis, St. Paul, and their suburbs that make Minnesota blue state. Remember, Minnesota is getting redder. In 2012, Obama won, I think, by 9 points. In 2016, Hillary Clinton, she only won by 2 points. So it's getting redder, and it's still
also you have the Trump effect in there with party fatigue for the Democrats. However, still, I mean, House races, even in a Democratic way, if you're in the House, the Democrats ended up net losing seats in Minnesota, which is not good for them.
Yeah, that was the only state that they net lost seats in, if I'm correct. So Minnesota trended to the right.
They evened out in Pennsylvania, something like that. They lost some districts there.
Yeah, but the point is, Minnesota voted to the right of the country in 2018,
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think at this point, people should look at Minnesota as a state that the Republicans could end up having a little bit more influence in, especially I think after, if Trump ends up losing this time around, so Republicans can go in and probably win in Minnesota if they run some candidates that are more centered for the city of Minnesota. But I think at this point, very interesting race, one to watch. Unless Michelle Fishback does something out of the norm, she probably will win this race. Anything else to say, UAP?
I'm good.
Okay. Last race is Maine's 2nd congressional district between incumbent, or do you want to introduce it?
Sure. So Jared Golden is the incumbent. He's pretty popular. He's decently well known. He's a one-term incumbent. He was swept in because of the anti-Trump wave in 2018, and he's just your average Democrat. He voted to impeach President Trump, and he generally votes with this party most of the time. He's running against State Representative Dale Crafts, who was a member of the Maine House of Representatives from the 56th District, which is up in that district. So he is probably from the members of his former district, well known, and I think he's going to win. And I'll be honest about this. This is probably could be the most contested race, and I know we say this about every race, but really this race, two popular, good candidates going up at it, and I just think it'll go red as a result of the Trump effect. This is a rural district, as you can see. It's pretty big, all the rural regions of Maine. And I know this was a blue district back in 2012. Obama won, 2008 Obama won, even John Kerry won in 2004. But we have to remember things are changing, so we can't compare it necessarily an election from 2004 to an election 16 years later. So I do think that Dale Crafts will win this race against Jared Golden.
Another reason why I think the Republicans are well off in this district is that this year, necessarily, especially in the more rural districts that are not affected as much by COVID-19 because everything's so spread apart, these areas didn't really have as much of an effect I'm sure there were cases and things like that, but it wasn't that much. And even looking at the state of Maine as a whole, amount of cases are barely anything compared to states like Florida, North Carolina. Again, states are a lot bigger. But since you didn't have that much of the we hate Trump because of COVID-19 effect, the Republican Party is a little bit better off here. And I feel like Del Cass will be able to carry this district. And I mean, Donald Trump has actually been leading somewhat in this district. Some recent polls show Biden ahead, which I mean, shows that a state, even in the times of COVID-19, where almost all swing states that were swing state in 2016 that could have been contested are now going for Biden. Most of them, I mean, are going for Biden. And this is one of the exceptions that for a long time it took for Biden to actually start leading. So very interesting district again. Jill Craft's probably going to edge it out here by, I think, anywhere from tilt to 1.5%.
And remember, yeah, I rate this as a tilt Republican district. Donald Trump won this by 10 points, so I'm not being generous towards the Republicans in any way.
Yeah. So very interesting House race here. I mean, again, the incumbent, not that he's so unpopular or anything. I mean, he's met in popularity. However, what's his problem here? More conservative voters. A lot more turnout, especially amongst older voters, which I'm assuming that's like a big part of the electorate in this district.
Yeah, he's got to just he has to get this district does have the potential to flip, but to Joe Biden. But I think he has to get Trump voters on his side no matter what. And I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he'll get enough of those voters on his side. So bottom line is, Dale Crafts will be the next representative from Maine.
Yeah, so that was all our 5 races that we analyzed. Very interesting races overall. UP, how interesting did you find them?
I really think House races are interesting because of, how local they are. I'm not going to say what district I live in, but I see a bunch of signs for the candidate in my district, so I think they're really interesting. Also, they have an impact in Congress, but overall, I think it's there are 20 contested races. These are the 5 most important. So, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed making this video. I mean, I wouldn't call them at least the 5 most important because I know there's some races here that could have been changed. However, these are 5 important races. I would say most of these are undershadowed, at least. For example, in the case of Florida's 26th district. Overall, I want to thank all of you for watching, like he was about to say. And before we sign off, please help us reach our goal of getting to 500 subscribers. Both of us are super close. I only need like 40 subscribers. And UEP only needs 30, because I think we can get there this month. And I think it would be a very big accomplishment. Remember, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. And yeah, UEP, do you want to sign off?
Alright, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure, as Purple said, to like, subscribe, turn on notifications so that you don't miss another episode of this podcast. Or check out our channels. On my side, I will put the link to Pro Political Talk in the description. So, guys, again, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.